My realistic everyday video is one of my most viewed. I think there's a mix of people wanting to see how they can trim down the pocket clutter, and people wanting to laugh at the recommendations of more products offered for sale at a conveniently placed link in the description. It also gives the impression that everything you have on you has to be practical and have a Spartan utilitarian approach to the smallest details of your life. But that isn't a completely honest representation of my average everyday carry at all. There are items that from an initial observation look completely useless, but these things help keep me together and organized in more ways than one. This watch was given to me as a welcome home gift. It would be in my hands shortly before I left Afghanistan. A friend had owed me for some bets he had placed, and he said, "I'm a religious man raised by a strict mother and she'd disapprove of me gambling. So I took the money I now owed you and decided to get you a gift instead, since you were eyeing this before you left." He was like an older brother to me. It's still hard for me to recall it, but he would eventually lose his life in one of the most undeserving ways possible. The watch itself needs new gaskets. I can tell because the crystal fogs up on the inside, so I try to avoid getting it wet, and other minor repairs, but it runs. It uses the now obsolete 7S26 movement made in Malaysia, so the repairs would actually cost me more than a new watch. I recently started wearing it again because a buddy of mine said that if it sat in a drawer for too long, it might just fail at some point. At least constant movement would mitigate potential damage until I had enough discretionary income to get it serviced properly. This is a tool that was meant to be used. That was the original intent, and that is what I will do. However, I really like the utility of my Garmin, so I just said, who cares what anyone thinks, I'll just double wrist it then. It worked out for Schwarzkopf, and I doubt the average person really cares enough to say anything. It also works if I have to leave my Garmin behind for some reason. I'll still have a mechanical watch that can not only tell me the time, but help me find true north out in the wilderness in case things really went south for me. I gave it a few shakes and I set it to Zulu time again after all these years. My next item is a medallion of St. Jude. If you aren't Catholic, or at least familiar with what Catholics believe, Jude the Apostle, or Judas Thaddeus, is the patron saint of desperate cases and lost causes. Many people turn to him in cases of the most serious trials, including illness, grieving, depression, and more recently, unemployment and for the ability to lead a troubled and dangerous life. His scripture urges people to persevere in difficult times. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital incorporates his name into theirs, a wonderful hospital in Tennessee that's focused on the treatment and hopefully the cure to catastrophic diseases, particularly childhood cancers like leukemia. The families of a child who receives treatment at this hospital never pays for it. The role of St. Jude is to assist those in desperate need. Your ability to stay strong may be what aid others around you in maintaining their drive to persevere. You could very well be somebody's source of strength in trying times. Never forget it. And finally, there is this Morgan dollar. You might be thinking finally bullion to trade in case shtf, but not a total collapse. Something practical again. I mean true, but not quite. Handing over this Morgan wouldn't even really pay off if I were getting robbed. Your average hoodlum would rather take my watch, phone, and wallet, arguably more valuable things. It's not something bribe-worthy either. You'd need more than just one. So just a straight-up pocket piece? I guess, but this one carries a little bit more weight than your average Morgan silver dollar. This is one of my first silver coins my dad got me in 1993. I remember being amazed at the time that I'd be holding something in my hand from 100 years ago. I liked thinking that Wyatt Earp could have shifted it across the table while playing cards, or that it could have helped pay for restoration efforts after the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Maybe it was in a jar underneath a bed during the Great Depression, or used to pay for a drink at a speakeasy. But now it helps remind me of something very important. We are all temporal beings on Earth. Every last owner of this coin, from the day it was minted, all the way to my dad, who gave it to me, are no longer among us. They've been taken by time, and other than my dad, I don't know who else owned it. One day, hopefully very far in the future, I'll pass it on to my child, and it will remind them of me, if they choose to let it serve like that. If it helps them get out of a financial bind, and give even a week's worth of respite from problems, that would be okay for me as well, and I won't hold it against them. If it ever leaves the family though, the memory of my dad and I as the previous owners of it are now lost to time, and that's the true nature of this coin. If it could speak, imagine it telling you everything it's ever seen. It's a great reminder that eventually all our possessions will pass through our fingers and that we can't take it with us. So let's do our best to leave something good for the people behind, for the people we leave behind. I know it's not a standard everyday carry video, but I hope this adds to a greater chain of understanding. The human experience is so much more than focusing on a color by number checklist. If we based everything we did on practicality's sake alone, we wouldn't have rich cuisine from around the world and a wonderful array of drinks to accompany it. We wouldn't have art that inspires the spirit and music that fills our souls. We wouldn't need to show love or believe in a worthy cause or show empathy. After all, tragedy is the world being the world, right? Nature taking its brutal course. It would be devastating to become a robot of the practical. Don't get so caught up in the minutiae that you forget to live life, and do what you can to create a better world in your slice of it. So counter to what I might have implied before, carry that freaking grappling hook. Just come prepared with a good story for it. Until the next video, be good, stay safe, and have a good one.